my mindset is so fucking warped. Monday is my favorite day of the week.
Why?
Because everybody else hates it. I have learned to do things that no one else likes to do.
Hey friends, welcome to the BK Strength Show, the show dedicated to building your strength physically, your mental strength, and your emotional strength. And I've got a very special guest today, my good friend, former Navy SEAL, Ray Cash Care. You may have seen him in the History Channel's The Selection show, and you might have even seen him on the Captain Phillips movie. Ray, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so here we are in BK Strength, and the show is dedicated to building strength, physically, emotionally, mental strength. And who better talk to than a former SEAL and someone who has gone from being a SEAL to acting, to television, to entrepreneurship, and to coaching. So we're going to kind of dive deep into your life. How did you even decide to become a Navy SEAL?
Well, growing up as a kid, a lot of challenges. I was always trying to push myself mentally, physically. I was reading a book when I was about 18 years old, and it's funny, people to this day ask me what book it is. I can't remember. I've read pretty much all the books out there, and I told my best friend, Bill Harmon, that I grew up with, I'm going to do this. I looked him right in the eyes, and he told me, you don't have what it takes to do this. Now, some people have given me crap saying, that's kind of false pretenses or false motivation, but no, it's actually what lit my fire. And it was just that internal drive to want to be the best I could.
Gotcha. So at 18, you're reading this book, and the book inspires you like, hey, I think I want to be a Navy SEAL.
It did. These guys were like superheroes to me. They were running incredible distances, swimming, the push-ups, the sit-ups, just the things that they did. The numbers were so out of my league. I was like, what do these guys have that I don't have? And that's where I started to develop that mental mindset. It was mental. It wasn't physical. Superheroes, it starts here. This is just the outskirts of it.
Got it. So most people are under the impression that to be a Navy SEAL, to be any kind of real hero in life, you need a lot of strength. And what I'm hearing you say that it's the mental strength. Talk to me about going through BUDS and where physical strength came in and where mental strength came in.
Well, let's start with the mental. I think the mental is key. The mental strength to get through BUDS is something that you constantly have to work at. Mindset and that mental ability is a perishable skill. So you constantly have to find different ways to break the mold. Going through BUDS, it's a very uncomfortable situation.
How long is the program, the BUDS program? And what does it stand for our audience?
BUDS is Basic Underwater Demolition. The basic BUDS program is 6 months long. Now, when I went through, after you graduated BUDS, I went to the SDV school, which was 3 months. That's a SEAL delivery vehicle where we drove we call it the coffin of death, the little black sub underwater.
Like a one-man sub?
Yes, underwater. There's 2 in the front, there's a couple in the back. And then I moved on, went to jump school, which was basic jump school, which is 2 weeks in Georgia, and then went to my team. And then when you get to your team, you go to, back then it was called SEAL Tactical Training, which is 3 months of working with other guys that had graduated BUDS from different eras and classes. And then that's when the real training starts. See, when you graduate BUDS, you're not a SEAL. That's just when the journey begins. What they do, that BUDS 6 months, foundation is they break you down and rebuild you to a starting point.
What is the success or failure rate in BUDS?
136 started with me.
In your class?
In my class, BUDS class 200. 16 original graduated. Now,
136 started, 16 graduated.
16 original graduated. We actually had 51 graduate. And you go, wait a minute, what does that mean? It means that the classes they go from like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. People that legitimately got hurt, injured, rolled, they would get rolled into later classes. So of the original 16, 51 of us graduated. So we had people from classes earlier than this. One gentleman fractured his skull, another man broke his leg. So if you're a good guy and you get hurt, you go under a board and they decide whether they're going to keep you or not.
Got it. So you go into recovery, you come back, join the next class.
Yes.
Probably start off where you left off.
It depends. You can start off where you left off depending on how far through the training you are, or you have to go back and start that phase over.
Got it.
Yes.
Let's talk about the thing that everyone's really heard of about the, training as a SEAL, or at least going through BUDS, which is the Hell Week, right? We've seen it documented in television. It's in every book where you read about Navy SEALs. What is Hell Week? How much of it is physical? How much of it is mental, emotional, teamwork?
Well,
walk us through that.
If you know me and I'm pretty graphic, so Hell Week is bottom line kicking the balls.
Yeah.
It is 5 days of nonstop burning up to 10 to 15,000 calories a day, working on, I think we got less than 45 minutes sleep those entire 5 days. Collectively. And it's amazing where you'll sleep. Is it mental or physical? What is the ratio? I think Hell Week is 90% mental, because you have got to go to a place where most people aren't willing to go to get through it. You have to mentally program yourself that nothing and no one can stop you. Now, people ask me, this is the $1 million question that people ask. Ray, what's the secret to passing BUDS? There's two secrets, and I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
One is don't quit. That's it. It's don't quit. Don't quit in anything you do in your life, which, transpires onto everyday life. And what I did mentally is I come up with a system that works for me. Now, what works for you and what works for me may not be the same. But what I did mentally is, in BUDS, you have these phenoms, these guys that show up, 6'4", 250 pounds, chiseled out of steel. And then you've got guys like me in the Smurf crew that are 5'8" and, under 5'8" and great. That's what we are, But that's fine. It works,
Now, wait, what is a Smurf crew? I've read about it.
The Smurf crew is the smallest group of guys. Me and Jay Redmond, our very good friend, was in it. The shortest guy. So
is it more challenging for you guys?
It is. Certain things, it's like anything else in life. Height has its advantages and disadvantages. So you make the best of what you got. So what worked for me, and people look at me and they're like, what? Is I would, when we first started off, I would there's always that guy that you want to be. I hate saying that. That was the one thing that I've changed in my life. I'm happy with who I am now. But back then, I was like, if this guy can do it, I can do it. And when I say, you know what? When he quits, I'll quit. And people go, what? I said, yeah. But when he quit, I'd be like, that guy was a bitch. Now I'm going to pick the next guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick the next guy. And I'm going to pick the next guy. Now, here's what's so funny. At the end of it, there was only 15 plus me, because I wasn't picking the guys I didn't know. Thank God the training ended when it did. But that's what I used to mentally get me through it, is if this guy can do it, I can do it. Now, the problem that I've always wondered with that technique is what would happen if it would have just been me, but there's never been a class that's only graduated with one guy.
Sure.
So that was my go-to, that mental drive.
To outlast the other guy.
To outlast everybody else. Till I was the last person there. That was the mental fortitude that I had built. That's what I call programming. I program myself. I said that. And I didn't just show up to BUDS and do that, because there's a story about me going to BUDS, because I didn't have it up here originally to do it. I had to take a test. It's called an ASVAB 3 times. And all that time when I was training, I kept saying, I have to come up with a system so I won't quit, because maybe there are some people I wasn't. There were a few times when I really thought about, throwing in a towel. And then people say, well, what changed your mind that? And this is what I mentally did. I would look in the mirror. We've talked about that before. I looked in the mirror and I try to imagine myself looking in the mirror and having the words quitter going across my face for the rest of my life. And I wasn't going to accept that. I would accept that if I legitimately got hurt and got rolled and came back, but I would not be able to live with myself seeing that stereotype across my face, because I do know good men that quit. BUDS isn't for everyone. I want to make that very clear. And they hate themselves to this day for quitting. It's easy when things get bad to throw in a towel, because you're not thinking of the consequences at the end.
The pain of regret.
The pain of regret. Yes, sir.
The pain of regret. Ray, so you said the two things are obviously, effectively, I'm going to outlast everyone and never quit.
Never quit.
The never quit one sounds easy enough. You start something, don't quit it, you're bound to finish it. It might take you longer, might be more painful, might cost you more dollars, more commitment, but if you never quit it, you're going to accomplish it. It's such a simple concept. Why do you think so many people quit things in life?
I think people, society as a whole, and I'm going to use society, are just looking for the easy way out. Soon as things start to, I say the water gets too hot or the water gets too cold, they pull their hand out of it. It's not going to freeze their hand. It's not going to burn their hand. You need to outweather the storm. And I think people today have forgotten that. Everybody, social media and all this and all that have just made all these avenues of easiness for people to, if I don't want to be a SEAL, I can go do this. I can go do this. This is what I tell people. If you're passionate about something, there is no plan B. People ask me all the time. I get DMs daily, and I've told you about this one. Mr. Cash, I want to be a Navy SEAL. What happens if I quit? What? What do you mean? I don't know. I didn't quit, I don't. And the thing is people are already programming themselves for failure. People are always looking for another avenue. And I don't get that, That's like saying I want to be a doctor and then I end up being, a bartender. If you want to be a doctor, go after that goal. Like you said, it might not be pretty. It may take me longer than you to become a doctor, to become that entrepreneur, to become that whatever it is. But I will find a way to do it. And that's what it's about. It's about mentally programming yourself, and I talk about, the conquer mindset, that in order to accomplish anything in the world, anything, you have to conquer yourself and be at peace of mind with who you are. And I think people that throw in the towel these days aren't comfortable with themselves. They're not happy with what they see in the mirror. So they're constantly looking for something else to do until they can look and see that reflection of something they want.
You alluded to that earlier, too. You said, I used to want to be like that guy and that guy and that guy. Now I'm happy with who I am. I think that's the ultimate, I've gotten there. People are always looking for a destination to get there. The journey's great. I love the process. Personally, I love who I am. I would never change that. That wasn't always the case. How did you get to loving who you are and no longer going, I can't wait to be like that guy, or I wish I could be like this guy? What does one do to get there mentally?
Well, first thing I had to do is I had to strip down all of the negativity out of my life. The problem with me not liking who I was, and this may resonate, is I wasn't happy with myself because I wasn't happy with the people I surrounded myself with. So we've talked about that before, I call it trimming the fat. See, I was going through life thinking I was a filet mignon, but I was a sirloin steak. I was fatty. And I had all those negative components around me. And when I'd come up with an idea, people would say, you're never going to amount to anything. They were mentally and physically abusing me and putting me down. And I'll tell you, the mental is actually worse than the physical. The physical heals a lot quicker than the mental does. When you're being told all the time that you're worthless and you're not going to amount to anything, people are actually programming you. That subconscious mind is absorbing everything. I talk about being the sponge. I'm going to sleep at night thinking that I'm worthless. I finally said, enough of this shit. Enough. I trimmed the fat, and I had to, we talk about a home, all homes are built on what? A foundation.
Yep.
Your home's bigger than mine right now. I love your home. I love it. Beautiful. But we both have solid foundations. Now, here's what's so great about that. If I don't like my house, I can tear that house down, but my foundation's strong and I can rebuild that house. Yeah. And every time, and that's what I do every day. Every day I'm adding on to that house mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially. And I'm constantly doing it. We talk about it being a perishable skill. My foundation, I went back and I built myself up from the ground up. Bud's helped me with that, but my childhood helped me with that. My family helps me with that. My inner circle helps me with that. I help me with that. My foundation is as strong as I can make it right now. And then what I'm doing is I'm just constantly adding on to that house, which is my life. That's the symbolism. It's
right.
my life.
So for those of you watching and listening to this, let me just rephrase what you said. It's so powerful that I don't want it to fall on deaf ears. That you've got to start with your foundation first. And Your foundation is the people that you surround yourself with. In other words, if they're negative, toxic, haters, criticizers, that goes into your subconscious. And now your subconscious is now absorbing that and solidifying who you are as that person. So the people that you surround yourself with, and then the thoughts that occupy your mind. Because if the people around me say that I'm unable to do that, I'm not made of the type of person who could become a Navy SEAL, then soon the thoughts in my head are, I'm a quitter, I'm lazy, I'm not meant to be a SEAL. So you build a new foundation by firing the negative people out of your life, surrounding yourself with positive people, as you said, your family and your friends who build you up. And then you begin to add to your house on top of that. But I imagine you didn't always start with the strong foundation. So let's go back to pre-buds, pre-Navy SEAL, young Ray Care with maybe a chip on his shoulder. What does someone do? Because all of life is suffering. You know, it's a quote from Buddha. All of life is suffering. And I've openly talked about being molested as a little kid and the scars that left on me and the anger, rage, shame, confusion that I carried with me for so long. I imagine you didn't have the cushiest of life. You might have had some trauma in your life. What was it, if you don't mind sharing, and how do you overcome that?
Well, my childhood, yeah, you're exactly right, Bedros, was not a kind one. I was, from the earliest age, come from a broken home. Was with my father, who was very abusive, mentally and physically. I was scared shitless of him. His idea of anything was either a belt or some type of object or a hand to me. But what I can tell people is the past is nothing to be ashamed about. That was the biggest thing that I had. For the longest time, I hid my past. I was ashamed of my past and who I was. Now I openly talk about it. I have, my father's gone. I have no regret or remorse. I know that sounds horrible, but, I love my father for who he was, but I'm very angry with my father for what he did to me. Now, with that being said, I think in some sadistic way, he made me a better person.
How so?
Because he took me to places where I think at a young age, I actually subconsciously started building this mindset. I was building walls and barriers when I was going through the abuse and the pain and the beatings with the belts. I learned how to disassociate the pain and go to a different place, which I think helped me in life. Now, as a young man growing up, I was a very violent man. I was a very angry man. But instead, and I did get in a lot of trouble. We've talked about that, which we can get into. I've been cuffed up before. There's been some incidents where I used to like to handle my problems with my fist. And through time, I've learned to try to handle them with the mind and the heart. Be kind. We talked about this morning. Karma is a mofo. It comes back to bite you. As far as my past, when I look back, and people go, oh my God, I can't believe you're going to say this. I wouldn't change a thing, because I honestly feel it made me who I am today, mentally strong. Now people go, Cash, you're big, you're in shape. That's not what makes a man strong. If you build the inner, the outer will prevail, same way. You've got a great build to you, but what I see is a strong man from the inside out. Health comes from the inside out. Love comes from the inside out. Everything starts from the inside out. For the longest time, my mindset was fitness and health and mindset started from the outside in. I was so focused on what I looked like and my appearance. See, now it's how do I feel emotionally when I wake up?
So you never did the inner work?
I never did the inner work. I looked great, and that's why growing up, we talked about it, I looked like the all-American kid. I was in shape. I played these sports, but I was a mess on the inside.
When did that change? When did you start working on the inner work?
Periodically, there was one defining moment in my life when I would say that it hit me, and it was when I was about 17 years old. I was in college. I was just going to a community college, and we talked about reflection. I looked in the mirror one night, and I went down a dark path. Was chasing women, wasn't being respectful to women, drinking, doing drugs. I'd been locked up, and I didn't have a relationship with my mother. I look just like my father. My mother has really just done the same thing, disassociated herself with me. And I looked in the mirror, and it felt like, I'm grabbing the countertop and I'm looking, and it felt like I must have stood there for an eternity. And I told you, I looked in there, and the reflection that you should see when you look in the mirror is, one, yourself, and two, someone that you like. What I saw was my father and someone that I despised. Now, I don't despise my father. I just despised what he stood for.
Yeah.
At that moment, right there and then, I said no more. And I quit cold turkey. I quit, I quit the drugs. I quit the drinking. Now, I'm not saying I'm not a social drinker now, but I've never touched drugs since then. Probably since I've been 19, I've probably been drunk maybe 4 times in my life. And right there and then I said no more, and that's where, you have to make the conscious decision that it's time to rise to the top. And this is what I tell people. If you want to rise to the top, you can't be scared of heights.
Yeah.
People go, what does that mean? Well, because a lot of people, when they get to the top, they look down and they get scared. What the hell are you scared about? You can't be scared of heights.
And by the way, I found that when people get to the top, look down, and get scared, they then begin to erode their life, self-sabotage, to go back down to ground level. Instead of, if you just hang out at the top long enough and know that you deserve being there because you worked up to getting there, you get used to it. Just like in an airplane. You're going down the runway, you're pinned against your seat when that airplane pilot decides to gun it, to get us airborne. But soon, you're up in the air going 530 miles per hour, but you're not pinned against your seat anymore. Your body got used to that speed. You can get up and walk around. But I don't think people spend enough time at the top. Instead, they go back to, I don't deserve it. What will people think? I better just erode and self-sabotage.
Because it's comfortable.
It's comfortable.
Because that's what they're used to. They're settling. I agree with you 1,000%. My wife hates to fly. We take off. She's holding my hand. She's praying. She's praying. She's praying. And when we're flying, that's a perfect analogy. When we're flying at 30,000 feet, everything's smooth and everything, right? But what happens? Every now and then, what are you going to hit? A little bit of turbulence.
Yeah.
The plane doesn't crash. We pull out of it. Now, have planes crashed? Yes, they have. But the ratio to that is astronomical. So my point is, even when you get to the top, there's going to be turbulence, but you've got to fight through it to climb, and that's the thing. And what pisses me off so much is people that come to me and they want to be SEALs. Let's just use that, okay? Let's not use the entrepreneurship. And they're training for years and they're showing me their journals and they're showing me their meal plan and they're showing me this and they're showing me that. And they go to Buds and they quit in 3 or 4 days.
What happened?
What happened? I got cold. You got cold?
Like temperature?
Yeah, temperature.
Not cold
I got
feet.
cold. Yeah, not cold feet. I got cold. I got uncomfortable. And I tell them, what you did and I would tell them, you're going to go to places that you've never been before. And people are like, yeah, because, they play the video games and they watch the movies and they think that's what it's about. Just like with being an entrepreneur. You're sitting here and you got this beautiful facility and everything, but people don't know and I know you're the first one that's going to roll up your sleeves and let's get dirty. That's what you've got to do. You've got to put in, and I talk about my equation of life, time plus effort equals result. If you put in piss poor time and piss poor effort, what do you think that result's going to be? Piss poor.
Piss poor.
You've got to put in, time management. You've got to do, if you want to get to Z, you've got to do the other letters of the alphabet. You can't just jump to the top. I can't stress it enough, but people are they get so lazy and so complacent with life. For me, every day that I get up, this is what I tell people. If you're not challenging yourself every day, if you're not out of your comfort zone every day, it's a wasted day. Sitting here with you, I'm a little nervous, but that's good. That means I'm human. Like every time I skydive, balls tighten up. That's normal.
Balls tighten up, fella.
That's what I like.
Y'all got that right?
Yeah, sorry. I'm not, but that's what life's about, man. Yeah. It's like that first kiss when you were courting your old lady and, with my wife, and the thing is every time that we're together like that, I still get that same feeling. And it tells me I'm alive and it's okay to be nervous. In the teams we talk about, you learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. No one is going to succeed or climb up that ladder unless they get wet, dirty, cold, uncomfortable. It's not going to be an easy climb, And then when you get up there, like you said, don't be, people take the time or don't take the time to realize that, as you climb up, it's going to get higher. They look down and they go, well, shit, I'm going to come back down. No, Soon as you get to the top of the ladder, you know as well as I do, that's when the real work starts. Yeah. Staying at the top.
And you realize there's actually another level above that.
And exactly. And like, I think that, with all the accomplishments that I've done, I've gotten to the top. But like I said, I tell people, once you get to the top, then surround yourself with people whom, I'm going to use proper, are better, bigger, faster, stronger, people that you want to emulate yourself to be like. Not that you want to be like, but you like their business scales, you like their mottos of life, you like their work ethic, you like their core values. These are the people that you have to surround yourself with. Me, in the fitness industry, I surround myself with people like you and the Michael Hearns. I'm constantly trying to better myself, opening doors. And it's not just for, hey, what can you give me? And it's developing relationships, developing partnerships, developing bonds where you can expand on everything, because knowledge is power. That's what I used to think this was power and this was power. This is the greatest weapon in the world.
That and your network. I agree.
Exactly.
Your mind and your network, because through your network, you can ask the right people for the right favors if you've built the right relationship, and you'll get the results that you
Couldn't
want.
agree more.
Yeah. All right, so let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
Obviously, as a Navy SEAL, you've encountered some crazy shit. You guys, I imagine, plan a mission, but all missions, I know like in business, I might plan to have 1,000 locations, but the process of getting to that outcome isn't exactly how I planned on going.
Exactly.
So when you plan a mission, now in business, I'm not losing my life. I might lose money. I might lose time. I might lose some sleep. Mm-hmm. I'm not losing my life. No one's shooting at me. When you're planning a mission, is there a mission or an experience you can talk about that shit went sideways or wrong or was unplanned, and how you guys had to recover, and how we can use that in life, mentally, physically, emotionally?
Yeah, well, every mission that I've ever been on has gone south in some way, shape, or form. There's never been a perfectly planned mission. There hasn't. And I could talk about one, but I'm not. What we have in the teams is we have an expression called max flex, which means life is going to throw you curveballs. Every time that we plan for something, time on target's going to be this time. If we're late, we have to have contingency plans. That same thing bleeds over into the personal side of your life, getting up, marriage, bills, family. I wish I could give you one. I mean, I haven't been on that many missions, but the ones that I have, nothing has ever gone like, okay, we're going to leave at this time. We're going to be here at this time. We're going to be here at this time. That's for movies. That's fairy tales. No mission goes perfect. And any single person that you get on here, they're full of shit.
So how does one plan? Because you coach a lot of athletes, you coach a lot of peak performers to become the best versions of themselves, right? And it's funny that someone who's a Navy SEAL, and from what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 active Navy SEALs at any given time.
That is correct.
Right? So that's like, I don't know what percentage of the world that is, but we're talking a tiny, tiny, tiny micro sliver of 1%.
And you're sitting with one right now, yes.
How lucky am I?
You are.
Why do we need the Rock's face on that wall again when we got you? Right. So that was your cue. Exactly. So, dude, that said, so we've got someone who's literally on the razor's edge, tip of the spear, teaching others who are in the business world, professional sports, how to become the best versions of themselves. How do you teach someone, coach someone through the process of, look, you have a plan, but shit's going to go wrong, to create contingency plans in their life? You create it in war, in missions. How does one do that in life?
With my coaching, I try to make sure that I'm teaching my experiences on things, and I will give them examples of things. I tell people, let's use Xavier Safulio. He's one of the Dallas Cowboys. I used to work with the UCLA Bruins. I was their motivational coach. Coach Alosi would bring me in and I talked to him, and I would explain to him, whether you're offense, defense, the quarterback, whoever you are, that things you're gonna change, and I try to put things into perspective that they can understand. Like, let's use Josh Rosen. He's the quarterback for the UCLA Bruins. Have you ever had to call an audible? Yes. Well, guess what? Same thing. Your line, when you call an audible, do they shift to that audible? Yes. Why? Because as you come up to that line, which is whatever your objective is, The defense, which is a symbolism of life, is switching, and you can't control it. All you can do is adapt to it. So what I try to do whenever I'm doing my online coaching, whether it's businessmen, I try to make sure that the story relates to what they're doing. Like if I were to talk to you about something, it would be like, I'll give you an example. Let's use fitness. All right. We did shoulders yesterday, right? Me and you worked out.
Yeah.
You did some overhead. You were just dealing with a pec / bicep issue. If we would have done those overhead presses and it would have hurt, what would you have done?
I would have figured out another
You would have
exercise.
figured out
Yeah.
another way. Now, see, me being a coach, I would say, hey, let's try this, this, or this. So I always tell everybody, it's just like when you're doing navigation in the SEAL teams, you have a speed wheel. Okay, speed wheel gives you your best, your average, and your worst case time. That's what I tell people to do. With fitness or with life, always have 3 avenues. The one that you want to go with, which is usually going to be your best.
Your best.
Point A to point B.
Yeah.
Then you have to have like an A to C, and then you have to have an A to D, because life is going to
love
throw
that.
that. And it's that
That's
simple.
called the speed wheel?
It's called the speed wheel. So whenever we do that, I'll give you an example. If you said, Cash, we need to go from point A to point B. How long is it going to take? What I have to do is I have to factor in things. So just like you would with life, I have to figure out how many people we have in the boat, because that's weight. That's disbursement of weight. How much gear we have in there. So what I do is I say, okay, the boat averages 22 knots with a 35 or 55 engine if it's empty. Okay, so the more weight we add into that boat, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to slow that boat down. But then we have to take in other factors. What's the sea state like? What's the wind like? Do we have the wind to us and against us? So what I do, coming to you with a solution or coaching, is I say, okay, in a perfect world, with a calm sea state, with the wind behind us, it's going to take us 6 hours, Bedros. But it could also take us 8 or 10. So what do I say? We plan for the 7 to 9 hours. Best thing I'm going to do is we're going to get there on time, but our time on target is going to be that 4-hour window, because you can't plan anything precise. I mean, me and you could go out to have lunch right now after this, and we could say, hey, we have to be back here, but we could be in a fender bender. Not, thank God, hopefully we're not.
Right.
But you have to plan for things like that. So I use the speed wheel methodology. And you have to have, because if I know I talk about not having a plan B, when people go, wait a minute, Cash, you said no plan B. I didn't have a plan B, only a plan A, but that plan A may take me longer than it takes you because of those other factors. My sea state may be rough.
Yeah.
The weight disbursement may be off. That's what you have to do.
Ray, what I'm hearing you say is, yeah, there is no plan B. The outcome is still going to happen, but using the speed wheel analogy, it's going to either happen best case scenario, fast, average, because there were some challenges and setbacks, or what was that third option? It was best,
Worst
average,
and worst case.
worst case. But even on the worst case scenario,
It still happens.
you still get the outcome.
Yes.
So there is no option B.
Yes.
You just get to option A, a little slower.
Exactly. Use it like this. You want to be a doctor, right?
Yep.
100% is the best one you can be. 70% is the cutoff, right?
Yep.
70, not 70 or 70, 80, 90, you can do it like that. Guess what? If I'm a 70, what am I? I'm a doctor. Maybe it took me longer. Maybe I had to just keep going and keep going and keep going. When I had to go into the teams, I had to take an ASVAB. You have to have a combined score, mechanical, of whatever it is to combine, to become a SEAL. I took the test. I didn't make it because I don't know if you go on a train going 90 miles an hour west and one going 80 miles an hour east when they're going to combine. I've never been on a train. I don't know. I don't care. But my point is I did it. I didn't pass it. There was no plan B. So guess what? That speed wheel, that best case scenario just went to my average case. I took it again. I missed it by 1 point. 1 point. That was another year. Let
me ask you, at that point, the second time when you missed it by 1 point, and I need full honesty from you, full transparency, did the idea of, maybe this isn't for me then?
I tell you what, I thought about that for about 20 minutes before I went through. His name was YN1 Coughlin. I took it, and he came up to me just like you're looking at me now, and I thought he was joking with me because we developed that relationship. And he goes, "You missed it by 1 point," and I thought it was a joke. And then I took the 20 minutes and I did exactly what I did when I was 19. I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror. It was going to take me another year. I said, okay, but it's going to be my worst case scenario, but now I need to do something that I didn't do before. So I walked back out to Petty Officer Conklin. I said, YN1, I need help. I asked for help. And he goes, thank you. And he got me the tutoring that I needed to do that. So, yeah, that was the worst case scenario. It took me, I joined the military. It took me 3 years and 3 days to get to BUDS.
So the third test.
Which
was a year after your second one.
Yes.
And so that gave you a whole year to come up with a lot of excuses to quit.
Yes. But you know what it also gave me? What I used it for was a year to come up with positivity. Don't make me talk about my analogy with negativity. I did think about it. I because everybody when you're struggling like that, you have the peaks and troughs. You go through it. But I kept looking at myself and saying, I refuse to be that negative entity. I am going to be the magnetic power that when I walk into a room, people want to come to me. They want to be attracted to me. And that's, I learned that from my childhood. I had grown up and I was that negative person. I told you, negativity is contagious. It's like a damn STD.
Yeah.
It is contagious. And the thing is when it goes away, it always finds a way to try to come back. Like that bump on your lip, or I don't want to get into it, but it always finds a way to try to come back.
That bump on your penis.
Exactly. But if you do everything right, you take your medication, whatever it is you do, it'll stay away. But it's always there, ready to come out. You have to control that monster. And for those first 20 minutes, I'm not going to lie to you. When I literally thought about throwing a towel. I was like, why me, why me, why me, why me, why me? And finally, I looked at myself and said, why not you? Did you get help? Yes, I was looking at a book and I was reading, but I was still going out chasing women. I was still drinking a little bit. So, and then I thought to myself, was I really giving 100% of myself, of my full capabilities to become a SEAL? And then I had to look at myself and go, no, I wasn't. So that's when I said, okay. But I did say I was going to give it one more shot. And you know what? I probably would have given it 10 more if they would have let me. But this time I went at it wholeheartedly. 1 year, no drinking. I'm not going to say no ass, but I really cut down. I had a girlfriend. I was knuckling down and getting serious. One, and I focused. And the way they did it was I actually wasn't allowed to drive to work. I had to take my mountain bike, and I would mountain bike. I'd get up at about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'd go to the gym. I'd work out for 2 hours, and then I would take my backpack and I would go over to the campus, and I had a teacher that would help me for an hour, and then I would ride the bike all the way back to work. And I did that every day. And then when the time came, the mathematical equations, I crushed it. But what it did was it gave me a respect. I respected what it took me to get there, because when I showed up to BUDS, I appreciated it more than other people. The guys that just showed up and got the phenoms that just took the test and crushed it, and they were, physically, maybe even at the time mentally stronger than me. And then I asked myself, were they? Did they have to go through the trials and tribulations that I had to go through to get there?
Yeah.
Most of them didn't. There was a few people that what I called suffered for the success. I suffered for the success. And I'm going to continue to suffer because I love the success.
Yeah.
I love it. And I don't always mean in a monetary
way. And I think suffering is good for us.
It is. I think it keeps
that's what we do in the gym. When we're working out so hard and it burns and you can't go one more rep and you go 3 more and you just make it happen. It's all mental at that point, isn't it?
It is. It's like I said, it's about coming outside yourself and going to another place. People need to find that, the gym for me, it's my physical and mental church. I have my spiritual church that I go to with my family, but that mental and physical church where I go, we talked about that last night, where I put the headphones in. I don't want to be bothered. Even if I don't have music in, don't bother me when I'm at the gym.
How important is working out to you?
So I live by 3 F-bombs: family, fitness, and finance. So for the longest time, finance came first. Now, it wasn't the money. It was the brotherhood of the teams. And then it was fitness, and then it was my family. But as I've matured, I've learned that literally, it's family and it's family then fitness. But it is so important. It's so critical in my life. It is the key component, which I think helps me become successful. You know, when you walk into a room, you know, people, I don't want to be around people that don't take care of themselves. I mean, do you? I mean,
No, I actually don't.
now, but I will tell you this, if I see someone that's overweight that's out there working out every day, I will never mock, make fun of, or, you know, pick at someone who's doing that. I literally, and I'll hear people, I'm like, hey, shut up. They're out there doing it. Do you know how many people aren't doing it? You know? And I love that. I respect people that are doing that. People that want to better themselves are the kind of people that I want to surround myself with.
Yeah.
You know?
So here's what's interesting is I believe you got a better appreciation for the process of becoming a SEAL, going through BUDS, because it was your third time of suffering through that test that you had to finally pass. Mm-hmm. So you appreciated the process and you got in there. Then you become a Navy SEAL. And of course, after, was it 12 years?
12 years.
After 12 years, you make a shift in your life. And it's a pretty substantial shift. One, you're coaching.
Yes.
And two, you've been on television. And I'm guessing you haven't taken acting classes. You haven't taken necessarily, I don't know, stage performance work. So how do you make that shift and go into something that's so foreign to you?
You know, it's about the acting. I never took a class. Tom Hanks, friend of mine, told me, you were the worst actor I've ever met in my entire life. He told me that. He goes, but you were the best you I have ever met in my life. And I said, what does that mean? He said, when you just stop trying to be an actor or stop trying to be like someone else and you just are you, I love it. It just, you know, it just flows. And I thought about that, and I took that lesson that I learned from him. I use it in life with everything, not just acting. It was the scariest thing. I tell you what, getting out of the SEAL teams, and you know, I first started doing some consulting work, you know, and started trying to build my network up and everything. But it's scary, you know, when you're in the SEAL teams, you know where the battle is.
Yeah.
But you have that paycheck, that constant paycheck, and then you know. I think that was probably one of the biggest, scariest moments of my life was when I got out of the SEAL teams, because I had a wife and a son, and then, you know, I had to provide. So, you know, that just lights the fire under my ass even more. But, you know, getting behind the camera, you know, trying to take on these new ventures, it gave me that same feeling like it was going into battle. And it's because I'm hungry for success. I'm hungry for victory. And the thing is that I tell people, everybody has a battlefield. Everybody. You do, I do. It doesn't have to be Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen. It can be right here, right now. Your battlefield can be at home with the family. The object and the trick is you have to plan for war. Every day in life is war.
Yeah.
You know, and what the hardest thing for me to do was treat my wife, you know, treat her differently than I did my platoon mates and someone that I was chasing overseas. You know, my wife used to tell me, I'm not the enemy. I'm not the enemy, because, you know, if I fail at something, you know, I and yell. You have to learn, you know, there has to be a filter eventually. You have to learn how to channel that energy into other things. So, like I said, you know, that transition from military to civilian life was actually scarier, I think, than any conflict, any engagement that I've ever been in, because it was so new. You know, with, like I said, cameras are rolling, people are expecting things from you. You know, you got all these people looking at you and you don't know what they're thinking of you. I see you, but there's all these people around and you're wondering, are they judging me, or am I, you know, is my stomach, you know, it doesn't matter, because you're constantly being criticized.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in the SEAL teams, you are too, but you're around people that are of the same mindset as you. Here, I don't know what everyone's mindset is or what they think of me. So
you feel out of place.
I do, but I love it, if that makes sense. I love the uncertainty, the unknowing, it's a thrill.
How does someone go to that place? Because so many people sit squarely in the middle of their comfort zone. And I always tend to tell people that, look, lean into the sides of your comfort zone. And when you lean into the sides of your comfort zone enough, soon you feel okay stepping out of your comfort zone. You're saying you loved the process of, man, it's uncertainty. I don't know this TV business. I don't know this movie business, but fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
What does that fucking I'm going to do it anyway mindset come from? And how does every listener get it? Like when they fuck it, anyway, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to go in the gym and finally get in shape, get my abs right, meet my fight weight. Or I'm going to finally go and ask for that raise. Or I'm going to go ask that woman to be my wife. How do they do the fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway mentality?
I think it has to come from every single person has failed 1,000 times, probably in a month. Every single person fails. What I've done is literally just I've learned from my failures. The thing is you can do two things when you fail. You can learn from it, or you can cry about it. And all I do when I fail is I learn from it. I take down what's called an AAR, after actions report. When I'm learning from you, you see me. I'm on my phone. I'm taking notes down. People get annoyed with me because when they're talking, like right now, I would have my phone, and people are like, "You're not paying attention." Oh, I'm writing notes. Listening, learning. How do you get like that? From failure. Because the thing is I failed. I'm not dead. I failed. I'm not broke. I'm not, broke to that point. I failed. I still have my wife. I failed. I still have my friends. The thing is as long as you're breathing, I have that mindset with fuck it. I can do this because every day, is a new start. It's a new chapter. Every day is a new page for me. Every Monday, people laugh at me. My mindset is so fucking warped. Monday is my favorite day of the week.
Why?
Because everybody else hates it. Everybody else hates it. I have learned to do things that no one else likes to do. Example, in the gym, my favorite workout, burpee pull-up. You want to go establish your territory in the gym? You can go around the biggest bodybuilder in the world. You can go knock out 15, 20 burpee pull-ups. They're like, and they get away from you. That's me just marking my territory saying, yeah, big man, the king is here. Get out of my way. And that's how I attack life. Yeah. Instead of avoiding things that you don't like, attack them. Because I promise you, eventually, it's going to get better. And I'll even tell people, I'll give you an example. For 1 month, my wife came up with this concept. And I told you this yesterday. 50 burpees a day keeps the doctor and what else away? What did I tell you? Do you remember?
Was it the STDs?
The clap away, yes.
Clap away.
It's a funny expression, but it's true. So this is what I would tell every single person out there. For 1 month, and now if you have physical limitations, pick another exercise that is emotionally, mentally, and physically exhausting. Burpees is one of those full body exercises, and do 50 a day. Well, Cash, I can't do 50 a day. Yes, you can. If you have to go to your knees, do them. If you can't do a push-up, do some type of variation. You don't have to do all 50 at once. Average person stays awake 12 hours a day. In those 12 hours, I want you to do 50. And I want you to do that for 1 month straight. Are you going to feel a few pains and aches and ailments? Yes. But at the end of those 30 days, I promise you, you will be better at them. And every day that you attack them, they'll be easier and easier and easier. And that's what life's about. I call it the burpee concept. You're scared to get up and you're prolonging greatness because you're hitting that snooze button. Why? Get up and attack life. If you're looking for a job, just like me, I've got great jobs, but I'm constantly networking, putting my resume out there, always trying to better myself.
Yeah.
Stop being one-dimensional.
That's it. Stop being one-dimensional and attack life. I love how you said it. You attack life. You attack everything you do, Ray. And because of that, our workout earlier yesterday, shoulder workout. I mean, you came off a plane. I picked you up. It was like by the time we got here to the gym, it was 7 o'clock, and we crushed the workout, and then off we went to eat.
And someone made a comment. It's too late to work out. No, it's never too late to work out. It's never too early to work out.
Yeah.
The thing is I had to get that workout in. You told me you wanted to do that. On the plane ride over here, did I get tired? Yeah, but I mentally prepped for it. Instead of watching a movie or reading like I normally, I'm reading a book, I said, okay, I'm going to get some sleep. When I landed, I had a small sandwich. When I landed again, I had a banana. I was mentally prepping myself to come here and train with you.
Yeah.
Where other people, what are they going to do? They're going to get on a plane. They're going to sit there and either sleep, they won't eat, or they're sitting there and they're watching movies. And
or they're eating shit on a plane.
Or they're eating
most people
shit.
do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't get me started with nutrition. And it's a direct reflection of them. And you can see it. How many times have you walked into a meeting or something, you can see who's there to learn to earn, and who's there that's just burnt out because they knew they had this meeting or something. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever had, I would hope not, You do a coaching class. I've had people that look like shit when I've coached them. I told them, you know what?
Yep.
I'm not going to have you waste my time today because you're not there. I can tell. Oh, you don't feel good. You got a bad night's sleep. I want 100% of your time because I'm giving you 100% of my time.
So let's shift gears there for a moment. And I want to wrap it up on this note. You've got this conquer mindset.
Yes.
I love. And the first time I heard about it was when we spoke at the Conclave of Warriors event in Miami. And I love the whole conquer mindset. Why don't you explain to me what conquer mindset is? How does one get it? How did you come up with it?
Okay. Conquer mindset comes from, conquer has 7 letters in it, okay? Mindset is a proficient, perishable skill. So that means if you don't hone it in every day, it could lessen or diminish.
Yep.
I take the same concepts from, I shoot weapons, 7 points of performance. There's 7 points of performance that you need to apply to using that platform, that shooting system, that if you shoot, you have the grip, the stance, the sight, the front alignment, the breathing, the trigger pull. So what that means is if you're doing everything right and you've got that weapon out, okay, and you're looking at that front and rear sight, okay, that front and rear sight is going to be clear. That target, which is the symbolism of your goal or your objective, is going to be blurry. Now, if you've applied all those points of performance and you squeeze that trigger, right, nice and easy, boom, you have control of what happens until that round leaves that chamber. Okay, the round leaves, it goes up, it goes down. Hopefully, if you've done everything right, it's going to impact on that target. Do you agree?
Right.
Okay. So the way that we get the best shot group we can is we constantly are applying these skill sets, and it's repetition. We're developing those muscle memories, those skills, those foundations that we need to be successful. So what I've done is I've taken everything that I've done, the conquer mindset, okay? The C is the clock, and we won't get them. The O is the obligation, okay? The N is the non-negotiable. The quit is quit. Quit making excuses, right? Spell it for me. C-O-N. U, unlock. Unlock is programming. E is educate yourself, and R is the repetition. So what I do is if you apply the conquer mindset just like you do to the weapon every day, and you do all 6 of these steps, and then you're repetitive about it, it's going to get that shot group tighter, which is, it's the same symbolism as firing that round off.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to get that shot group tighter. We're trying to get you in that kill zone so you're an expert shot. So you're an expert at life. See, people tell me, and the 21-90 rule, okay? It takes 21 days to develop a habit, 90 days to develop a lifestyle. I say bullshit. Develop your habit and your lifestyle right now. Get up today and do it. Do it tomorrow. Do it the next day, and continually do it. After 90 days, if you want to be successful, it should say 365. You need to do it every day of the week.
Every day of the week.
God rested on Sundays. I don't.
Love that. Ray, how does someone find you on the internet if they want to connect with you, learn from you, work with you?
My website would be, definitely for the online coaching, is www.frogmindset.com. I have a Facebook page, Ray Cash Care, former Navy SEAL. And of course, I'm on Instagram, Ray Cash Care.
Ray, thank you so much for your time. It was an honor having you here, sir.
Thank you for having me, sir.